Hi everyone, it's Miss Adine, and today I'm coloring in my line doodle drawing from yesterday. I'm using just some gel pens and regular ballpoint pens. I'm starting with yellow and orange in the horizontal squigglies of my sun. So I know my hand's blocking it, but give it a second and I won't be blocking it anymore there. It does get better. So as I work, I am going super fast. It is super sped up. It takes a while to color in little shapes, longer than you would think. So normally when I would do this, I would do this in a colored pencil or a marker that has a wider tip. Instead, I decided to use pretty much ballpoint pens. So it takes a lot longer than it normally would, but I decided to, and I kind of like the shine of the gel pens. The ink is really reflective, and the colors are super bright. So one of the things I notice about using my left hand lately is that when I draw, some of my hand covers or smears my work because I'm going from right to left, and I'm not quite sure how to work that. With my right hand, I can normally see what I'm working on because I'm working from left to right, so it leaves it more open. So if you're a left-handed person, tell me which direction you work in. So here I'm going back to the yellow. There's something really calming about, coloring in shapes and choosing bright colors or colors that make you happy. And for this picture, I've chosen like really bright, cheery colors. So I'm going to have all yellows and reds and oranges for my sun so we can, warm, nice, bright colors for the sun. So even though I'm using an orange, it's a slightly different one for the horizontal, for the vertical squigglies. And I'm liking the way it comes out. There's something really fun about laying down bright colors next to each other and seeing how they interact. Like which colors make other colors pop and which colors sort of blend into each other. These colors sort of make each other pop because although they're all warm sort of yellows and oranges, there's enough difference in them that they sort of vibrate. I'm looking at how fast my hand goes and I look like the Flash. There's no way to keep this video in real time and have someone watch it because that would take forever. So here I am. I'm just going fast so you can see basically how I'm coloring it in. There's a little bit of white showing through. I've decided for this that it's okay because I'm working in the same direction as the shapes I'm drawing. The white actually sort of works. If I was to scribble and I would have white lines going in different directions, it might not look as nice and I might have to go back over that over and over again to make sure there was no white showing. So now I'm going to start working in on the top bricks. And I'm using a darker red. And this is just a ballpoint pen, a Paper Mate. And here I've got an orange. Colored pens are really fun. They're always fun to have. They're not expensive. You can throw them in a bag, take them with you. And they're perfect for sketching in your notebooks or in a sketchbook. The colors don't really bleed or spread. They dry pretty quickly. And they're really bright. And having bright colors in a small thing like a pen is something amazing. So these pens also work over colored pencils pretty well. I decided to just use pen for this. You could use color pencils and do your own thing. You can even use crayons, but you'd have to have bigger shapes. The smaller your shapes are, the more you need a fine point somewhere to get in there. So here I'm using a pink color, or actually like a warm orangey color, again to go around my sun, make a repeating echoey shape. And the more I go over it, the less white you see. Now this is the pink. So pink and orange are two of my favorite colors placed next to each other. I like how they really look. They sort of really vibrate against each other. They're both really bright colors, but they make each other stand out. So I've chosen 3 different blues, a really dark blue that's sort of like a purpley blue, and a medium and a light blue to do the rays coming out from the sun. It's sort of like, not really necessarily the rays, but like the sky around the sun, because I've decided it's a bright, sunny blue day. And this is sort of the medium blue. And these pens are really matte. They're not as shiny as the gel pens. They're more of a matte pen, so you can see the color really clearly. Where this blue pen is a gel pen, and it's really shiny. So it's very reflective, and under some light it winds up looking more silver than it does blue. And it's a very wet pen, so when you use it, you could smear it, but it dries really quickly, so it spreads nicely. With these pens, you can see the texture of all my lines. With the gel pens, they sort of smear out and blend really well, so you don't see your lines. So those are the colors I'm using. So it's going to be like in a row. So on the first row, I have the point up in a dark blue. And then by the time I get to the 4th one, it's changing. So it's not the point up, it's a point down. Now it's a pattern of repeating color over my repeating shapes. Because this is about line and repeating lines and patterns, and now I'm adding repeating colors into my design of lines and patterns. Now there's something really just relaxing about coloring, and it is so much fun. I wish I had taken a picture of this before I colored it in and printed it. That way I could recolor it in different ways a few times. You know, because when you start with the black and white lines and then you fill it in, you are sort of making your own coloring book. And really easily I could turn that into a moon with a gray or black and white background and change the colors of the flowers. You know, you can change things to make it look like a different time of day or a different season, or just use different bright colors in different places. And that's one of the fun things about a coloring book. And when you make it yourself, it's even better because it's exactly what you want to do. And you could do this large scale with paint. It's a lot harder to stay in really small lines with a paintbrush, but it is not impossible, just a little bit more time consuming. Here I'm working in my pattern directly around my tree branches, so it looks like it's behind, that the tree branch is in front of the sky. It adds a little bit of depth to an otherwise really flat picture. So when you take a real subject, like birds are real, the sun is real, trees are real, flowers are real, and you draw it over, simplifying it and exaggerating things and changing things, it still is a real subject, but it's not a realistic drawing. Nobody would ever look at this and think that I saw this in my backyard and it looked just like this. Everybody's going to understand what it is, and then I made it up. So when you work like this, everybody gets to see a little piece of your imagination. They get to see how you want to see the world around you, and that's kind of fun. And the more I add those colors behind and the more my branch starts to pop out, the more I really start to get into drawing this background and wanting to get the whole blue done so I can see how those mountains are going to look. And so I can think more about what color I want to use for my birds. So while you're watching this, there might be some like big magic jumps where all of a sudden a lot more of my work is colored in. If I feel like this is taking too long, even sped up, I might just cut out little pieces. But I think this is looking pretty good. So you can see the more you add the background, the more it starts coming together. Right? And there's still some white going through it, so I'm going to have to go back over. Some of it has a little bit more white than I like. And that's the thing about drawing. You can always rework it. You can always add more and more and more. As long as you're paying attention to what you add and when you add it, you can always go back. If I decide that there's too much white showing, I can always go back and pick up that marker and go right over it. For now, I'm pretty excited to get the background finished. And there's Orange. Hey, Orange. Orange, it must be like, early evening because he's coming to hang out. He woke up from his afternoon nap. So you can see how fast it looks like he's breathing. He's not breathing that fast. This is just what it looks like on my sped up video. But he's so excited to sit and hang out with me when I draw. Because, he wants to be in the middle of everything. And he's just like, why are you not petting me? You see how long he's going to sit still before he makes himself a little bit more known or gets a little bit more in the way, because that's just the way Orange is. He wants to be close to everything I do, involved in everything I do, and the center of attention. It does make it a little hard to see what your work looks like when your cat is sitting on it. Maybe he'll move. Just a little bit. The good thing about Orange is that he's pretty smart about not stepping on things that are wet. Or maybe it's just luck. He's very interested in when you move your hands. He just wants to up. Wasn't giving him enough attention, so he's off to the side licking his paws. He'll come back. So now you can see how the yellow and orange sun is looking against the blue sky, and how the mountains are there. Up, and here's orange. He's back, and he is lying across everything, and he is watching. So here I'm using a dark brown. I chose the darkest brown I have so that it will look more like a shadow, because it's on the opposite end of the mountains as the sky is. And now I'm going to use a gold pen to fill in the middle. Now this is just a gold pen from the dollar store. I don't even know what it is, but on the other side I'm going to use a dark red brown gel pen. Well, it doesn't look so dark, but it's a red gel pen. It's a reddish brown gel pen. And that's like, with the sun reflecting on it, it looks lighter. I like the bottom of Orange's paws. They're just so pink. He is just so watching my hand move. He's like, if your hand was a bug, I'd catch it. And that's what it is, because my hand is moving back and forth, and he just loves to track things that are moving and watch them. And if you're not careful, maybe even pounce. He never takes out his claws, though. He just plays. So every time I finish like one little section, I get so excited because I get to see what it looks like. And I'm always so excited to see what the entire thing looks like. I don't want to rush through because there's so much fun in making it, but I totally want to finish it so I can just look back and see all the colors together. Orange is getting a little bit frustrated. He just wants me to pet him and to play with my pen. Maybe swat it around the house. Sometimes he does that. Takes my pens out of my drawers and throws them around the house. It's a little tricky to find things every once in a while. He's back to lying down and getting up. You can tell he's going to get up and walk away in a minute. He's going to be so bored with this. But I'm almost done with this side of the mountain for those medium brown stripes, the earthy red brown. And I'm going to use a gold, just like I did on the other side of the mountain. But it's going to be a different gold. It's just a different brand of a pen. And you'll notice that the two of them look drastically different. So that part is finished. Orange is done for now. And I'm testing my pen on the side of the paper. I always have a piece of paper on where I can test the colors to make sure it's what I want. So this is just a uniball pen. And you can see that it's a much more intense gold, a warmer, a more yellow gold. And it has a slightly wider tip. So even though it's a ballpoint pen, the ink flows much quicker. There goes Orange again, coming and going. So the two golds look next to each other. The one looks a little bit more silver next to the other gold. But if I actually had silver next to that first gold, it would look much golder. It depends on what it's next to how the color looks sometimes. Especially with these shiny pens, they reflect the light of each other. And now you can see the tail feathers are starting to be defined by the colors that are around them. And that's looking pretty nice to me. It's a great feeling when you make something and you can look at it and go, wow, like that was fun to make and I really like it. Sometimes you make things and it was really fun, but you're like, I can do better next time. And then you do. So this is Sleepy. He's walking around. Sleepy is Orange's brother. They're from the same litter. Sleepy is solid gray, where Orange is an orange tabby. And maybe Midnight will show up. She doesn't necessarily do this too often, but Midnight's their sister, and she's a solid black cat. All from the same litter with the same mama, and all totally different colors. And they totally do that on purpose. They want my attention, and they want to play, and they want a treat or to go outside. So they'll come and they'll sit on what you're working on, just so you know that they need attention and they're more important than anything. Then they'll walk away for a minute, come back. It's what they do. They're kitties. So I'm using that same gold on the second mountain. And I'm doing that because the lines go in a different direction, so they won't get mixed in. And you can see that there's a distinction. And Sleepy's back. Too bad he doesn't show his face. You could just see that he's sitting next to me. Maybe he's, showing a little bit better manners. So these Uniball pens, I have one in silver, one in white, and one in gold. And they really are nice to write with or to draw with because the ink flows so smoothly and so quickly. And they don't really smear. And the colors stay pretty well for pens that you buy at Staples. And they go through the paper a little bit, but they don't bleed through enough that they'll ruin the next paper in your sketchbook. So I'm putting the lines behind the bird's feet and behind the branch of the tree. And the more I fill in the sky, the more the bird and my branch pops out as being completely in front. Color separation really helps with showing space. So most of the time when we draw, we do these things so automatically. We separate the foreground from the background, or objects from the sky, the fish jumping out of the water from the sky in the background. The same thing with flowers, whatever it is. But sometimes you can just think about what it is we do to make it look separate. The colors, the textures, the size. Things that are far away look smaller. And we know that because when you're looking out the window or you're looking in the far distance, things that are far away look tiny. Up here's Orange again. He so wants me to pet him. So here I finished that really quick. Now I'm doing the side, and here I'm using, that dark brown. It's a cool brown, and I really like that color. I like that Orange watches. He's probably like my best art critic. He's always willing to hang out and let me know what he thinks. If he doesn't like something, he'll just walk away maybe. But he's always there to keep me company while I draw. He's probably my #1 biggest fan. And yes, I know that sounds really like a crazy cat lady, and I kind of am because I have 6 cats. But Orange is the one that always hangs out. Maybe the others are a little bit more camera shy. So he's off. Something interesting is happening. And here I am working on that color, filling it in. So Orange is really good sitting off on the side, and while I finish this, you know he really wants something. It's not often he comes back and forth so many times and is so patient. Normally he's chewing on my pen by now. So sometimes when I draw, I'm thinking about, the colors, what colors I'm gonna use next. If there's another texture or something I want to add to it. I'm a big fan of listening to audiobooks while I draw, or that way you can hear a great story or while you're working, but you don't have to stop drawing. And other times it's nice to really work and have like a nice quiet place where you can relax and color. There is something really fun about working in a sketchbook. And there's something really amazing that there's a big sense of accomplishment to when you finish a sketchbook and you realize that you have cool things on every page. That you have like created this little time capsule of like what you were doing and what you were thinking or what you saw to keep for a while. There's something really fun about like having that sense of accomplishment about making a little book. It's a sketchbook, but it's a book, and it shows you, like a visual journey of what your learning is and what you've been experiencing. Up and there's Orange coming back because he wants to be part of everything. So this is that other gold pen. And I'm showing that this is, a different section of the mountain again. So you can see the golds next to each other are different. And this one looks way more like bronze or silver. This is just a gel pen. I know a lot of you have gel pens. And you can use gel pens over regular marker to add little textures and patterns. You can work with them over color pencils and in between color pencils or regular markers. So that was a good speed up, right? Got rid of some of that coloring in. Here's Orange again. He's just walking back and forth. He really wants my attention. He's a silly baby, isn't he? But he's a friendly cat. His favorite place to sleep, Orange, is in somebody's shoes. If he could like crawl up and sit on your shoes after you take him off, he just loves that. Unless it's like, he's going to go to bed, because then he literally is going to go upstairs to where his bed is and get in it. He's really serious about sleeping in the right place at the right time. Now, he's not trying to sleep here. He's trying to make me stop doing what I'm doing. He's trying to say, stop drawing. Pay attention to me, feed me, pet me, give me some treats. Maybe take me in the backyard. The door's open so he could go out if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to go out without company. He likes us to go out with him. And he doesn't really catch any birds. He's a big bug hunter, which is just fabulous because I don't have to worry so much about him eating the birds in my backyard, but he does not let a fly live in our house. So I really like that. You can sort of see that it's a little bit 3D with those mountains in the back, the way the lines work. And here I'm using that bright pink and I'm coloring in some of the tail feathers. And you can see that the ink on these pens flows pretty smoothly, so it's very nice. It's the same as using a marker. It just takes a little bit longer. And since I like to do one thing every day for like a week, I'm probably going to repeat this my line doodle drawing with the black Sharpie pen to start with, but I'm sure I'm going to use different markers to fill it in. And that way it won't take me as long. And I can compare which I like more. Sometimes different pens and markers, depending on who makes them, have better colors. And that's just about who's got more pigment and the mix of their colors. It's like not every blue is the same. So here I'm using silver. And under the light you can almost see it's silver, but it looks a little bit white. But the silver against the pink in real life looks a lot better and a lot brighter. And this is that Uniball silver I was talking about. It acts almost like a paint pen, but it's not. It's just ink. So it doesn't really bleed. They don't dry out. And they don't really smear. So these, the silver, gold, and white from Uniball is sort of my favorite. So here I'm using a darker pink to put some pattern in my bird's face. Now I didn't go for feathers up here. I just went for shapes that would work in the same design or the same direction, sorry, as the feathers. But not quite the shape. And that's the thing about drawing. Like, I don't have to give this bird feathers all over for you to know it's a bird. It looks like a bird because of the basic shapes that make it up. And I can change the pattern inside and the colors to be what I want them to be. And here I'm just randomly using some pinks and purples to fill in the feathers in the back. Here I didn't really do a pattern. Here I just kind of randomly put them out, skipping a couple little circly places in between each, using each color. I don't want too many of the same colors to be touching each other, but I didn't want it to be an exact pattern. So I'm not counting circles, I'm just putting them in. And I think my bird is looking really kind of cool. As I'm looking at it, I might need to outline it again, either in black or silver, because I used a really fine point marker when I drew it. So it might be better to use a slightly thicker Sharpie pen or a Sharpie marker to draw your initial lines. But I like the delicate pen. It all depends on whether you want it to really look like a coloring book when you're done, if you want those thick black lines to show between everything, or if you want some of them to disappear. Those are decisions you can make as you work. I think my bird's looking very handsome. And I say handsome because most of the time when birds are really bright, it's the male. A lot of times the females are a little bit duller. The males tend to have brighter colors so they can attract the females and maybe divert the attention of a predator. Here I'm going and putting the purple in between and around the silver circles and the white circles on the bottom. And now I'm working on my flower. This is where it gets really exciting, where like 90% of your drawing's done and you really want to see how it looks. So I'm doing the same thing I did for the tail feathers. I'm sort of putting some different pinks around. And I'm not really doing it in a pattern. Some are touching, some aren't. And I did want my bird to sort of match the flowers, or vice versa. And I've decided that I'm going to leave the branch without anything on it but the black and white pattern, the white of the paper and the black pattern of the Sharpie. So because I'm not doing a pattern, I can go around and around, and I'm going to use the same color in a lot of different areas all at once, so I'm not constantly picking up and switching my pens. Like, I might need to go back and use the same color again to fill something in later, but I can use a lot of the one color in many different places within this one leaf. Not one leaf, within this one flower before I switch colors. It makes it a little bit quicker. So you can see this gel pen next to the regular ballpoint pen, and it's much wetter when it goes down. It does look way more like paint. And my bird's just looking so perfectly happy to sit on the branch with these flowers. It is like a bright, happy spring day. And when you draw, I think a lot of your personality comes through. So if you're in a great mood, chances are your artwork is going to display and show your great mood. And if you love happy, bright, wonky things like I do, then chances are you're going to make happy, wonky, bright art. And wonky is one of my favorite things. And I know this is a little wonky. It's a little silly. You know, we don't have big triangles in the sky, and birds don't have those kind of stripes. And the sun doesn't have that kind of pattern. It's all sort of one color. But this is what's great about remaking it in art. You can do what you want with it. So this is my last flower. And here I am sort of making more of a pattern. I didn't want them to be the same exact flower. So I started with a different color than the first one. So this one's going to have more of this sort of salmon-y color than the pink. Although it's, you know, but it's going to have the pink and it's going to have that darker pink in it as well. So that they are basically the same colors, but there's a little bit of a variation between the two. And you can see that, like, I'm a little bit rushing at the last minute, which I know is the wrong thing to do, because when you rush, when you're almost done, is when you can make mistakes. So normally when I'm almost done is when I, like, intentionally slow myself down. That way, like, I can finish without doing, like, a fatal flaw. So here you can see I went back because behind the flower, that pattern of sky should have extended. And when I was drawing my pattern, I didn't see that I left a little bit of that out. There's always something to change or add as you work. And it's just something natural that artists do. You alter and change direction as you work, most of the time without thinking about it. You look at it and you think like, oh, this should go there, or I need more of this here. And you just do it. I really hope you like watching. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Tell me what kind of art you're making this week. Share with me how you're using your time at home. And if you have like a favorite pen you like to use, you know, write that there too, because everybody can use, you know, a new idea or a new pen or a new material, or what, you know, to know just what works well for somebody else. Just a few more petals to finish up. It's very exciting to see what something looks like. Thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me share my sketch of the day. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, hit the subscribe button. Tell me what you think below. And I'm just so waiting for that last couple ones to fill in. just about done. And, oh, I forgot something. I have to get those last 3 little ones. So, thank you so much for watching. This is what it looks like from a little bit from a distance. I hope you have a great day and do some fun creative work.